Ingredients for rhubarb pie with a twist. Begin by making your pastry. Mix the sugar in with the flour before adding in your butter. I use a pastry blender, also known as a pastry cutter, just to save my fingers that get sore. Perform a pushing down and rotating left and right motion. Repeat until the mixture resembles breadcrumbs. Alternatively, this cutting in method can be done by hand. Here's the end result. Make a well in the centre of your flour mixture before adding in your egg. Work the egg really well into your dry mixture, letting the flour absorb as much of the egg moisture as possible. Be sure to check the bottom of the bowl for any dry areas before adding in any of your cold water. This is ice cold water, and as you can see, I'm adding in very tiny drops at a time and really working it into the mixture before adding any more moisture. Once the pastry dough is beginning to come together, you'll have noticed the colour change from white to a kind of beige shade. At which point I like to bring the dough together by hand, squeezing and kneading the dough together, making it soft and one homogeneous mixture. Working the dough gently by hand rather than adding in more water, this will transfer some of the oils from your hands and ensure that the dough is not too dry. Now form your pastry dough into a ball and then into a disc. Flattening makes rolling out later much easier. Wrap in cling film, plastic wrap, and allow to rest in the fridge for at least half an hour. Alternatively, you can freeze your dough at this stage or use the next day. Divide up your pastry dough for the case and the topping. Use a little less than half the dough for your topping. Flatten the smaller piece of dough into a rough rectangular shape, and this will make the rolling out easier. Wrap back up in the cling film and place in the fridge while you work on the pastry case. Roll out your pastry dough to a thickness of about 4mm, that's a sixth of an inch. Just be sure to roll out a wide enough diameter that will cover the base and up the sides of your pie dish. Then it's time to grease your pie dish. Here I am using homemade lining paste. This is made from flour, vegetable oil and vegetable shortening. It is less expensive than butter or cake release spread, all of which you can use as alternatives. Details in the link below. Once your pie tin is well greased, there are various methods for transferring your rolled out pastry dough into the pie tin. This one here I'm using the loose base and transferring everything over. Gently folding the pastry into the centre before placing into the ring of the pie tin. Alternatively, you can roll up the pastry dough on a floured rolling pin and unfold on top of the pie tin. Now I am gently fitting the pastry into the tin. You can also use excess pastry rolled into a ball to help you push it into the sides of the tin if it does have fluted edges. Roll the rolling pin over the edge of the pie tin to remove the excess pastry dough. Here's a tip for excess pastry dough. Label a food bag for the freezer and just add your excess pieces of pastry dough to that anytime you have them. See the recipe link for more details. Now use a fork to dock the bottom of the pastry case. This lets any trapped steam evaporate, preventing a soggy bottom. Chill the dough for 30 minutes or bake another day. Cover with foil or paper, ensuring you cover all the way over the edges of the pie case. Then fill with silicone pie beans. Here I am using uncooked beans or pulses, dried pulses, which you can cool after use and store them in a little jar. Alternatively, you can use uncooked rice. Pop in the oven for part baking. Meanwhile, you can make your rhubarb pie filling. Here I have added the chopped rhubarb pieces and sugar and part of the water to the stove top. Once the sugar has dissolved, let the mixture come to a boil, but only add in the rest of the water if you feel that the fruit is too dry. We want to cook the rhubarb down quite a bit because it does naturally, like strawberries, give off a lot of liquid, and we really don't want that happening when the pie is baking, or it will leak and we'll have a soggy bottom. Once it's like this, transfer it to another bowl to let it cool down before we add it to the pie. Meanwhile, remove the pie from the oven and very carefully remove the foil and those baking beans. Mix some egg with milk and apply as a generous egg wash to your pastry case. This also helps prevent a soggy bottom by creating a barrier between the pastry and the rhubarb filling. Pop back in the oven for a little more baking and allow to cool a little while you prepare the topping. Remove the remaining pastry dough from the fridge and roll out to the same thickness as before. Starting off with a rough rectangular shape will help you immensely. Then it's time to cut your strips of pastry. I use the ruler because I can't draw straight lines. I also had a chopping board underneath. Make the strips about 1 centimetre, third of an inch wide. Then cut lots of strips. Then leave to the side, do not chill. Now add some vanilla extract, homemade recipe link below, and even add some anise if you like, that is lovely. Add the cooled rhubarb filling to the slightly cooled pie case before preparing your topping. Now make your pastry swirl or the starting point like a rose as demonstrated in the video. Use the leftover egg wash and brush onto your pastry rose. Here I am brushing the top once I've got it on my hand before transferring to the centre of the pie. Continue on by twisting another strand of pastry. Attach it onto the end point of your rose. Just very gently twisting it round and be careful not to break. A little tip is to use something to move the pastry to exactly where you want it, rather than put on the pastry and then try and lift it off the rhubarb filling. Much easier just to manipulate and move it with something else. Also, if you find that your pastry is not quite in the centre, what you can do, rather than lift it off the rhubarb filling, give it a gentle shake until you're happy with the position. Use the egg wash to join the ends and also brush on some more of the egg wash to the top of the strands you've just added. Continue on making more pastry twists until you reach the end. This pie with a twist topping is actually easier than a lattice topped pie. It does take time to add them on, but you only need to do it once. Lattice topped pies, however, can be very problematic, and often you have to redo the topping. Once that is complete, simply add more egg wash and pop it in the oven to bake. Bake till golden. Bread and pastry should never be pale in colour. Colour means flavour. Here's a little behind the scenes footage for you. A lot of work goes into recipe development, testing. Videos and photography also takes an enormous amount of time. I will be doing a series on everything it takes from start to finish for how a recipe originates until it actually gets on a site for everyone to see, all the processes we have to go through, including things such as search engine optimization and so many other things, all to give a recipe free to anyone who visits the site. So look out for that when it comes. In the meantime, I would like to thank you so much for viewing my video, for reading my recipes, and for all your support. So until next time, happy baking, bakers!